Chelsea fans, welcome back to Talking Chelsea. Welcome back to another match review where Chelsea have just beaten Tunis 3-0 in a very convincing professional performance, in my opinion, to go into the round of 16 for the Club World Cup, where we do face Benfica Saturday night here in the UK time at 8 o'clock. Now, what can we say about this game? There was a lot of question marks around it. There was a lot of pressure in terms of we needed to get a result to go through to the next round. Now in this video I'm going to be going over my personal thoughts, and then we're going to go over the match stats and kind of see how the game played out in terms of statistics as well as my view. And before we get into the video, make sure you leave a like and subscribe if you are a Chelsea fan who enjoys Chelsea content. We're on the road to 10k by the end of 2025. Now, of course, the first thing to talk about is the lineup. A lot of people had a lot of questions about the lineup, and there was, quite a mixed sort of response. Some people saying Maresca doesn't know what he's doing. It's too much of a weakened side. This is a must-win game. We should be playing stronger players. Where's Andre Santos? He's not started again. And I think they're all valid, right? Especially after the absolute battering we got in the previous game against Flamengo, who played LAFC tonight. I think they drew, or Flamengo won. I can't remember in the end. But essentially, Chelsea go through as the second place to then face Benfica. I understand that. There's a lot of credit there, right? You go, hang on a minute. This looks like a very weakened side. When I initially looked at the lineup, it solidified a few things for me. One, glad that Jorgensen got some minutes, resting Sanchez, whatever. Jorgensen had a very solid game, didn't have much to do, in all fairness. We got Badiashile, who in my opinion was up there for man of the match. He was unbelievable tonight. He was so solid, consistent. Defensive awareness was great, even going forward and trying to, push the ball a bit forward as well. He was fantastic. Tosin was solid, scored a goal, which we'll talk about in a second, but he was fantastic tonight. We saw Josh Ashimpong on the lineup graphic as a left back, Gusto as a right back. Now in the game, it was actually the other way around, where Ashimpong was the right back, Gusto was the left back. It just solidified to me that we really need backup on that left-hand side. I keep talking about it. I'll talk about it till I'm blue in the face. We really need backup on that left-hand side, because even though I feel like Gusto had a better game than he has previously, he still wasn't amazing. He still wasn't tearing trees up, right? We need cover for Cucurella, really. Now, Ashimpong can also play left back. He played fantastic on that right back. He played fantastic. This guy is so young, but plays like he's been here before. He plays with so much confidence and experience and drives the ball forward. He's not scared to take risks on the ball, and he can recover very well. And I was very, very impressed with him today. Glad that he got a run out. Now, when it comes to the rest of the team, we saw Madueke on the left-hand side. We saw Nkunku on the right. We saw them switching throughout the game. A lot of people were calling as to why Neto is rested. Why isn't Tyreek George starting? And look, I totally get it. I feel like Madueke was trying to be a bit more penetrative, and I think he was unlucky with a few of the runs, but he was winning corners, which, I will always take, because that's still progressing the ball forward, right? But he wasn't his best game, admittedly. I'm not saying it was bad, but it wasn't his best. He was okay. Nkunku, I thought, had bright spells. Again, wasn't tearing any trees up, but he wasn't awful. He had some good spells, and you could see that his body language was a lot nicer, a lot better. You could see he was genuinely frustrated when things didn't pull off, or he took a shot and you could see he was annoyed at himself. Whereas before, he wouldn't even be getting into the positions, trying to make those runs. He tried getting a penalty for us, which in my opinion wasn't a penalty, but the effort was there, and I don't know what's going on with Nkunku, but it was okay to see him get some minutes. And to be fair, he wasn't horrendous. Now, Delap. We need to speak about Delap. How nice is it that we have a natural finisher in our squad? How nice is it that we have a natural finisher, a natural number 9 in our squad? Because we'll talk about his goal too, but Chelsea have been missing this for years. Now, when it comes to the actual first half and how the game played, it was a very dominating performance, very professional performance from Chelsea, which, Tunis had a few sort of counters, had a few breaks. We dealt with it very well. Gusto lost the ball a few times, recovered very well. And there was a few chances, but nothing. I never felt under pressure. I never felt like we were going to go behind, right? I feel like Chelsea just dealt with it. There was clearly a disparity in quality, and I feel like Tunis did very well to defend as a unit. They did nullify us for a long time, because in that first half, great defensively, good in midfield, but in that final third, it almost looked like we were constantly running into dead ends and we didn't know what to create. Until the last 2 minutes of the half, where we got 2 goals in quick succession, with Enzo Fernandez with 2 fantastic assists, really. One was a delivery into the box from a free kick where Tosin got on the end of it with a header. at that far stick to then head it into the back stick. That no one was getting that. It was a well-placed header. It was fantastic. And then a few minutes later, Enzo Fernandez does this little chipped ball into Delap, who just rolls off his defender so nonchalantly, cuts inside and genuinely passes the ball in the net, and the keeper doesn't even move. And it was just such a nice, well-worked goal, but a nice thing to see, refreshing thing to see, exciting thing to see, that we've got a player in Delap who can just roll a defender and is so composed and confident and calm in those areas and knows what he's doing. It was his bread and butter, rolling the defender, little touch inside, finish, not a problem. So good to see him get his debut Chelsea goal. I think it was a good goal at that as well. Obviously, again, I'm not saying it was an absolute worldie, but it was just so nice to see that we have a natural number 9. Now, Enzo Maresca made some changes at halftime, and again, we've got a lot of rotation, and I feel like Maresca does actually need some credit in terms of having a heavily rotated squad and people questioning it and people being like, oh, this doesn't make sense, or why are we not playing this player or this player? We went out and done the business in the first half. We dominated the game, we dominated the ball, and we settled very quickly, and we set the tempo. We then get them 2 quick goals, and then going in at halftime, Enzo Maresca has the world is his oyster. He can make the changes, he can continue as we go, and we can just kind of try and see out the game or try and push for a third. Now in the second half there were no immediate changes, and it basically continued as it was before the first half, right? We just dominated, and we weren't really pushing for that third goal, but we were trying to create stuff. And there was some substitutes. I think Tyreek George came on, we saw Asugo, we saw Andre Santos get about 20 minutes, so a lot of fans can calm down. Maresca said he was going to get minutes. Yes, you might have wanted him, and myself included, wanted him to start more of the games, of course, but he got his rotation minutes today. And if I'm being brutally honest, I can understand why Maresca hasn't started him yet, because he looks just a bit rusty and a bit off the boil in terms of how Maresca wants to utilise him, and that's perfectly fine. It's a 22-minute cameo. We're not expecting him to score a hat-trick and be the best player on the pitch. He did have some good spells. He lost the ball a few times. He was out-muscled or out-challenged a few times, but he basically won us a penalty which was overturned, which I thought was just a weird decision from the referee, because the ball was on the spot and then it went to VAR. It made no sense to me, but regardless, I feel like he got the assist for Tyreek George's goal as well. So it was a good sort of second Chelsea debut, even if it was for 22 minutes. I thought Asugo played very well. We saw Mamadou Sarr come on. I thought he played very well. It looked like he came on at right back at times, which I thought was a bit strange considering he's a left-footed centre-back normally, but we saw a bit of a rotation through there, and I feel like the players that came on just played very well. Keenan Dewsbury Hall, I felt like had not a very good game, but had a good game to a standard. Tyreek George getting a goal, which is fantastic. A well-hit shot from 25 yards out, which, in all honesty, the keeper should be saving. But with the power on it, it hits the keeper's wrist and it just bounces over him and goes into the goal. We take those. That was the third goal that wrapped it up, which, to be honest, we didn't look like scoring. We were kind of pushing forward a little bit and kind of just keeping the pressure in Tunis's half. And then when that goal came, it was kind of like, oh, wow, okay, cool. It was a moment of brilliance where the ball gets laid out from Santos, and then Tyreek George is like, touch, hit. I'm just going to go for it. A fair play. I feel like Tyreek George played well when he came on, and the goal sort of caps his performance. Mark Guiu got some minutes today. It was interesting to kind of see him play and get a good run out. He had like a shot. He had made some good runs, but there was no clear-cut chances for him. Well, there was one that was saved as a one-on-one. But again, quite far out, tightish angle. It is what it is. Not saying that he played bad, but it was just nice to see him get some minutes. So I feel like Maresca does need some credit in that sense, because he did rotate the squad and he also rotated the substitutes, so a lot of people got minutes. Tosin ended the game as captain. Enzo Fernandez come off, gave the armband to Tosin, something we've not seen before. So like, that's sort of how deep we were in terms of the rotation of the squad. I think we had one unused substitute potentially, so that's 4 extra players to come on a rotated squad. So I feel like he does need some credit. Of course, going into the round of 16 when we play a team like Benfica, we're not going to have the luxury of rotating so heavily. We're not going to have the luxury of bringing on so many substitutes. Well, we have the luxury of bringing on the substitutes, but not as deep as a rotation as we did today. And I feel like that was the plan. The plan was to go out there, get the job done, and give people as many minutes as possible. And we would like to have done that earlier in the group, so we would have had 3 games of this nice rotation, but it's just not how it's planned out. However, it was just a very professional performance from Chelsea. Very happy with that. Got up at 2 a.m. in the UK time. It's currently 3:30 in the morning to film this video, and I'm glad I did, because it was just, a professional performance. Chelsea go out there. It's what was expected of us, but you can never expect that from Chelsea, well, the current Chelsea, because you never know what you're going to get. You never know who's going to turn up, right? But overall, I'm very happy with that performance. Very happy with individual performances, the team performance, the rotation, the man management. I think it's very well done from Maresca and the boys. So we rightly so go through to the round 16 where we play Benfica. But let's take a look at the match stats and kind of see more in a statistical point of view how the game played out. So it ended up 3-0. We had Tosin and Delap scoring in quick succession in injury time of the first half, and it basically wrapped the game up. The game was so dominant on our behalf, and like I said, Tunis defended well as a unit, but they couldn't really break out. They had a couple of half chances, but again, well defended, well recovered. Then Tyreek George scores in injury time. Again, like I said, we didn't look like scoring that third goal. It looked like we were pushing for it too hard, but it came, so we take it. So this is the lineup that we started with. We had Jorgensen with a 6.9, and I'm going to be honest, he had barely anything to do, so I don't expect him to have a high rating. He kept a clean sheet, which is also good, but we started with Gusto as a left back, who got a 7.4 rating. I think that's probably a little bit higher than what I would give him. He did have an okay game, but he wasn't amazing. Like I said, his recoveries were good when he did lose the ball, and I mean, yeah, alright, fair enough. I'd say a 7 would probably be fair, purely because I don't think he did anything outstanding, but he had an alright game. Badiashile was fantastic. Surprised he's not had a higher rating. He was so solid. He was everywhere you needed him to be. He was pushing forward. He was awesome. Tosin, 8.4. He's going to be the highest rated because he scored, but again, he had a very, very solid game. I like this partnership, depending on the opposition we have, because I feel like if they're under too much pressure or too much pace, then they can struggle sometimes. But this partnership works very, very well. And then Ashimpong, I'm surprised he didn't get more than an 8, to be honest. He was fantastic on this right-hand side. Like I said, he wasn't scared to drive forward with the ball and take risks. He was defensively aware. He played with this confidence that was oozing, and he played with this assurance of experience of like he knew what he was doing, which is just so nice to see. He is really going to go far for Chelsea, and I hope he gets so many minutes across the season because honestly, he was fantastic. Now, this has been laid out as like a 4-2-3-1, but we kind of started as like a 4-3-3 where Lavia was the holding midfielder. We had Enzo Fernandez and Dewsbury Hall, and obviously as the game played, we kind of went into this more of a shape. But we saw Dewsbury Hall on the right, we saw him in the middle, we saw him Kunku on the left and the right, we saw Mabueke on the left and the right. It was very interchangeable, these front three. And to be fair, I think the ratings are pretty solid. Mabueke, to be fair, Mabueke I think is a little bit high. I think he was okay, like I said. He was trying to be more penetrative, he was trying to create more chances, he was driving the ball forward, he won us some corners, but it wasn't his best game in terms of chance creation in my opinion. So 7.5 I think is a bit high for me, but he did have an okay game. In Kunku 7.5, again it's a tad high for me, but at the same time, he played alright. He weren't tearing trees up, he nearly won a penalty, he nearly took a penalty until VAR intervened. But overall, he had an alright game. He wasn't amazing, but he definitely wasn't poor. He played well. Dewsbury Hall was one of those players that did his job very well. He did his job very well, and he was kind of silent. You didn't really know he was there because he was just doing his job. Again, wasn't tearing trees up, but he was getting part of the play. He was dropping deep to pick the ball up, to push the ball forward. He was trying to create some chances here and there. Didn't really come off for him, but hey, I think a 7 is about fair for him, to be fair. It wasn't a poor game. He wasn't tearing trees up. I think that's a fair evaluation. And when it comes to Liam Delap, there's a 7.8. Obviously, he only played 60 minutes. He's not going to get a massively high score, but he did get his debut goal, which obviously contributes to that. But he was really good today. Made some good runs, trying to get involved in the link-up play a lot. And then when that chance came to him, like I said, rolling that defender, the little shimmy inside and the pass into the net. Unbelievable, man. It's just so refreshing to see Chelsea have a natural number 9, how cool, calm and collected he was, how composed he was. So I think these are relatively fair, if I'm being honest, in terms of the match rating. Now when we move on to the momentum, it's a very clear sort of reflection of my review, and also, well, the stats don't lie. That's just pure domination. Like I said, Tunis had some moments here. A brief period early in the first half and the brief period in the middle of the second half, but the rest of it was just all Chelsea all the way through, and you can see where the goals came right on the edge of half time and then right at the edge of full time. We were never really in doubt. Now, player of the match was Enzo Fernandez. He was fantastic tonight, pulling the strings, 2 assists, 8.5 rating, fully deserved. He was awesome. And then when you look at the possession, 74% to 26, there was just a big disparity. And again, we were expected to win these types of games. However, you still have to go out and play. You have to go out and win. And we could have made a meal of it, and we didn't. So expected goals are 1.31. We get more than that. Total shots are 16-3. Big chances 3-0. So it kind of sums up how it went. And when it comes to the events, you can see the rotation of Chelsea here. Tosin and Delap scoring on the edge of half-time in the first half. Tunis makes some half-time substitutes, or just after, 46 minutes and 56 minutes. And then this is where it comes in. So Delap off for Guiu, Asugo for Lavia, Santos for Fernandez, George for Madueke. All in that sort of 10-minute spell of 60 to 70th minute. And to be honest, when we made those changes, nothing really happened. Nothing really changed in terms of the way that Chelsea played. They slotted in very nicely. Like I said, André Santos looked a little bit rusty. Mark Guiu did his best, but he kind of went under the radar. We didn't hear his name too much, but he was trying. He was making the runs, trying to get hold of the ball. Tyreek George was fantastic. And Romeo Lavia was really, really good today in that holding midfield role. We know how good he is. So keeping him fit is key going into the season. They then make another change, and then we brought on Mamadou Sarr for Malo Gusto on the 82nd minute. And again, I thought it was quite strange because Sarr is basically a left-sided centre-back, so to see him playing in that right-back position or left-back position kind of makes sense. There were times where he was at right-back, times where he was at left-back in that last sort of 10 minutes. Whether it's just where I was watching and we were in transition or not, I don't know, but he played well as well. He played well. They made some more substitutes, got some more yellow cards, and then Tyreek George completely wraps the game up in injury time. And that's how the match went. Chelsea win 3-0 comfortably in a professional manner. We get a lot of rotation done, and we move on to the round of 16 where we face Benfica this Saturday, 8 o'clock kickoff UK time. Do you agree with my match analysis? What are your thoughts on the game? Let me know your thoughts and opinions down below in the comment section, because I love having a conversation with you guys. And if you have watched this video all the way to the end, firstly, you're a real one, and I mean that, you're a real one. But secondly, there'll be a thumbnail appears on the screen. So if you are a Chelsea fan who enjoys Chelsea content, make sure you click that thumbnail because you'll enjoy that video too.